Welcome to Fantasy Football Hub for the next episode in the My Team series. Today I'm joined by FPL Expert FPL Heisenberg, who's going to be revealing his current draft. This is a man who's finished in the top 30k 7 times. Some history, Wes. I'm excited to see who you've got in your team. How are you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate, and yeah, ready to roll with this bid.
Right then, let's get straight into it. No messing about. As always, we're going to be building this on Fantasy Football Hub's My Team tool that's going to give us a team rating percentage at the end. If you guys want to do the same for absolutely free with your team, the link to do so is down below. Wes, let's get things started. Who is in goal?
So goalkeepers, I've gone for Pickford and then the backup from Everton, Virginia. I don't know if he's the backup to fair, but it's 4.0, so you can just shove him in. We don't need to talk about him very much, but Pickford is in for a few reasons. I think there's not that many great options at 4.5 million, and that is what I want to spend on my goalkeepers, a combined 8.5, so a 4.5 and a 4.0. So other options are someone like Johnston from Palace, but the early fixtures, I prefer Everton, so that's one thing. And I'm just hoping it's not something I usually do, but we know so much about Sean Dyche. We know how he likes to play. We know how good he is at getting clean sheets. We know how good Pope used to be back in the day for save points because of how Burnley defended. They didn't really allow quality shots on goal, but they did allow shots on goal. So he was just picking up easy save points. So I'm hoping that with a pre-season now at Everton and some decent defenders like Tarkowski and players like that, Everton can actually become a decent defensive side. Obviously, they're not going to get a clean sheet every week, but neither do even the top keepers. So yeah, I want to spend less money. Decent early fixtures, Fulham at home, week 1, Wolves at home, week 3, Sheffield United away, week 4, and even Villa away, week 2 isn't amazing, obviously, because Villa are much improved in Emery, but it's at least it's not City away, is it? So the fixtures are decent enough, cheap player, hopefully save points and therefore bonus as well.
Nice. All right, that is the goalkeepers. Yeah, Pickford's one that we may have expected to perform a little bit better when Dyche has come in, but as you say, with that preseason, we could see a bit of an upturn in his form and the defense in general. All right, let's move on to the defense. Who have you got?
So Chilwell is the first pick.
Nice.
Again, kind of speaks for himself, but just a little bit on Chilwell in terms of under Pochettino. New managers come in, they can play certain players in different positions to the past. But the good thing about Chilwell is he is getting forward in these preseason games. He's becoming the left winger from open play. It's the right back who's actually tucking in and making it like essentially 3 centre backs. Watched a really good analysis on Chelsea recently, actually, which backed up what I was seeing. So yeah, you got the open play threat, and we know and again, it's a sort of history. Do we know for a fact that Chilwell can actually score goals when he's in the area? Yes. Can he get assists from corners and open play? Yes. We know he can produce. And the early fixture, the first 2 maybe aren't great, but they get nicer after that. And I guess there's been a lot of 0-0s between Chelsea and Liverpool.
True.
Surely that's got to change. I don't usually put weight into that, and it's not the reason why I've gone for Chilwell, but I can live in hope with that one.
Well, you never know. I mean, it's one of those, you always expect Liverpool to score against Chelsea, but the last 4 games it hasn't happened. And also people are saying, and it's true, Trent coming inside in that new role leaves a lot of space for a flying left back to just really exploit that area. Who knows what may happen first game of the season. Okay, who is next?
So at the minute, it's Trent in there. I could switch things up by going for a cheaper defender and therefore having more money for my midfielders and forwards. But as of right now, Trent's in. Getting a little bit of cold feet due to recent poor performances defensively in pre-season for Liverpool. But as of right now, Trent's in based on how well he did it in that new midfield position towards the end of last season. Was looking incredible from an attacking point of view. And although I'm not convinced, he's 8 million. And am I convinced on Liverpool's clean sheet potential? I'm not right now, which might put me off him. But maybe I can get lucky and they can just still pull off a decent number of clean sheets whilst Trent gets the attacking returns. But yeah, the fact he's 8 million and the fact I'm not that happy with Liverpool's defence is making me have cold feet. But as of right now, he's in my team.
I've got his stats up from the end of last season, which you can do if you sign up to the site, link down below. And 7 assists and a goal in his last 9 game weeks in that new role. It's so impressive, right? The numbers sort of speak for themselves. In that new role, I mean, he was still prolific in the normal sort of right back role that he was in, but in that new midfield role, he's very, very attacking. And although the clean sheets might not be there, 8 million is a lot. You can't argue with that output, right?
Exactly that. And although, like I said, I'm not that convinced on their defence right now, Bournemouth at home in week 2, hopefully a clean sheet there just by a dominant sort of attacking display from Liverpool and obviously hopefully some attacking returns. And yeah, like I said, he was almost from when the game launched, I wanted Trent in based on what he did towards the end of last season, based on what he's done throughout his Premier League career. minus just the sort of first half of last season. You know, he was always first name on the team sheet, wasn't he? He always returned. Liverpool always were getting either clean sheets, and if they didn't, he was getting an assist. He's amazing for bonus as well. So if it's like a 1-1 and Trent's got the assist, he's just going to get the 3 bonus. He's going to get an 8-pointer for not that much. So yeah, hopefully maybe I'll keep my nerve on him. And like I said, sort of just hope for better defensive improvements. But as of right now, I was kind of hoping they'd have signed some better defensive midfielders. That hasn't quite happened. They've lost Fabinho and Henderson, which is a massive knock in my confidence against Liverpool. So yeah, Trent's hanging on for now.
Okay, then who is next?
I've gone for a Stupinian.
Sure.
Really good opening fixtures. Really attacking player. Last season, you'd watch games, he'd be flying forward. He'd be scoring goals or getting assists in the very last minute of the game as well. He just wouldn't stop getting forward, which is what I really like about, there's no just sort of sitting back and him just staying in the left back position. He was bombing on all the time. And I remember, I think it's always a good sign when you don't have a player and you're watching them in fear of what they could do to you because obviously other people have them and what they're actually producing. It's a good sign. So yeah, and I think he's good value at only 5 million. A bit gutted I haven't squeezed in Gabriel from Arsenal for their opening fixtures.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. So I guess you're not going for a back 4, so no Gabriel then?
Yeah, I'm going for a back 3 with just 2 cheap defenders. But yeah, no Gabriel, no Luke Shaw. Again, people watching, I get, if I share drafts, people often come back and say, oh, no X, Y, and Z, no players from this team, no players from that. No, I'm aware of all this, but we can't squeeze them all in. If I had Gabriel in, then someone would say, oh, no Trent or no Stupinian or whatever. So I don't, there's players all over the pitch from different clubs as well that I would happily have in my team. Gabriel, Shaw in defence, I would happily have. But as of right now, they can't be squeezed in. And I think it's a really important lesson just to sort of reiterate to people, every season FPL, you can't have them all. There's only 15 slots in your team. Physically, you can't squeeze everyone in, either because of price or whatever. So you have to just get used to the fact of you might believe in a player. Like I believe in Arsenal's defensive potential in the first opening game, which of course they haven't made my team because I'm happy with the players I've actually got. So it's never a case of excluding a player because I think they're bad. It's a fact of I've chosen different players.
Absolutely. Okay, then. So it's going to be a back 3. Give us the bench defenders.
Yeah. So this is at the minute I've got Cabor. Again, probably pronounce it wrong, from Luton, and Bayer from Burnley. Bayer is potentially going to become Baldock, from Sheffield United. And the reason why that's important is because both Luton and Burnley blank in week 2. So I'd be really running the risk of, if one of my starting defenders got on mine and not in week 1, I wouldn't really want to be swapping them out of my team. Yeah. So using a transfer to take out a player I believe in just because they're going to miss a week, but I'd almost be forced to because of the blank for Luton and Burnley. So that's why I will probably end up with Baldock. So yeah, change Bayer to Baldock actually. Okay. Luton and Burnley obviously could have a double later on, but again, would I really start any of these cheap defenders over my other players for the double? I don't know. So yeah, I think I'll play it safe by covering off week 2 with someone like Baldock, who is 4 million. Again, we've seen him in the Premier League a couple of seasons ago. Decent enough. Sometimes got attacking returns. And again, I think he scored in pre-season the other day. So there's a little bit of potential there. So to be fair, Baldock could actually be a better choice than Bayer anyway, especially as Bayer starts with City and then a blank. So yeah, Baldock over Bayer. But essentially, what I would, as always with my sort of 4.0 defenders, I kind of just stick them in. And then by the time the game week deadline comes along, they're in now for structure. So I don't underspend on my starting 11 by having a random 4.5 on my bench. I've got my 2 4.0 slots sorted. By the time the game week deadline comes, I'll pick the 2 who I think are the best, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. A lot of people are sticking with the cheapest possible defenders because they think that these players are going to actually get a solid amount of game time this season, which hasn't always been the case in the past. Yeah. So yeah, it makes complete sense.
We will move on from these because I know that's not the most exciting topic, but just on Cabore, I'm hearing good things about his sort of attacking potential as well. So again, that's just based on what others are saying. I haven't really seen much of him myself, but there's at least, if we get some attacking potential from these players, then happy days. If not, they're there just to sit on your bench and come in when needed in an emergency, basically.
Sure thing. All right, let's move on to the midfield. So Trent is in defence, which obviously takes up a pretty decent amount of your budget. I want to kind of see how that manufactures itself in midfield, because we've seen teams that don't have Trent go massive in midfield. Let's see how yours might differ a little bit.
Yeah, so mine's 4 mid-price ones really. So we'll start off with Saka, and if we want to do 2 Arsenal at the same time, Martinelli. Saka and Martinelli's stats are very similar. I don't have to pick one, so it doesn't really matter. But so yeah, I've got both. But yes, Martinelli's 0.5 cheaper. The penalty factor for Saka, assuming he is still on them, he has missed a few in his career. He missed away at West Ham last year. He missed in pre-season recently. He's missed for England a little while ago. I don't think that necessarily, after he missed against West Ham, Arteta was very adamant that Saka was going to stay on penalties. I think he did go on to score maybe one or two after that. But yeah, Saka's got those penalties, very good asset in his own right. Martinelli's almost flying under the, maybe he's not flying under the radar, but some people are almost like Saka's a definite, but Martinelli's maybe not. Whereas I think Martinelli has great attacking potential, does tend to play better with Gabriel Jesus.
Yeah.
So, which is a shame. I don't think that means I'll take Martinelli out. I saw some stats with and without, and he still did perform well in terms of goals and stuff like that. So I think I will stay with him. But that, yeah, really good opening fixtures. We know what Arsenal did last year. Saka and Martinelli are both really young. They're potentially even going to be better this season, more in their prime this season than last season because they're both so young. So yeah, I like those two picks.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. And I think with Jesus being out now, we're seeing a lot more Martinellis in drafts as well.
Yeah.
Interesting to say. So you're not going to go with three Arsenal players? Is that then what you're saying?
At the minute, this draft doesn't have three. I did have Jesus. I was very anti Jesus for a while. I finally put him in my draft, and then he got injured straight away. So it's two at the minute. But like I said, I could very easily end up doing Trent to Gabriel, freeing up 3 million, having a player with better fixtures and some goal threat as well, hoping Trent doesn't go too crazy. And then, yeah, potentially making some improvements elsewhere. But yeah, as of right now, just two Arsenal players in this current draft.
Nice. Yeah, I think that is a decision that we're seeing a lot. That's the deliberation that's going to go up until the deadline, I think, for quite a few managers. Right then, let's carry on with the midfield.
So I'll go for my next cheapest one, which is Foden.
Okay.
I think Foden's going to have a big season, but regardless of that, that's a question. That's irrelevant because players don't have to have a big season to be considered for game week 1. We only have to focus on the first, 6 to a maximum of say 12 game weeks, but realistically the first 6 because there'll be free transfers, there'll be early wildcards. I think Foden's going to start really well for a number of reasons. He couldn't quite get in the team much towards the end of last season because of Grealish playing so well, Bernardo Silva playing so well, KDB and Gundogan playing so well in those sort of number 8, number 10 positions, whatever you want to call them. But now obviously Gundogan's left. I don't think he's going to be necessarily replacing Gundogan, definitely, but De Bruyne hasn't played much in pre-season, I don't think. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the Community Shield. But should De Bruyne lack minutes there again, that's a real good tick in the box for Foden. Bernardo Silva was to move on because Mahrez has obviously been sold as well. Then there's a spot on the right that he could occupy. Obviously, we've done another video where we spoke about that maybe not being the case. However, what I'm trying to guess at is we always think about City about having loads of great attackers on the bench and loads of great options, but Foden can play in a number of positions across the front sort of line. And because they've sold the likes of Mahrez and Gundogan without replacing Mahrez anyway, I know they've got Kovacic in, but yeah, I think there's going to be more potential for Foden now, and his injury issues should be behind him. So yeah, at the start of the season, I see him maybe in the De Bruyne role at the start, maybe in one of the wings, maybe in the Gundogan role, getting into the box. So yeah, this first sort of 6 game weeks. I'm actually, usually I'd be worried about Foden's minutes, but as of right now, I'd say I'm not. Because he is so versatile, though, it could be a bad thing because is he going to be getting loads of shots off in the box in whatever role he actually does play? I don't know. Whereas I could go for, say, someone that we know that we're going to, we know what we're going to get off, say, a Rashford or a Bruno Fernandes. So maybe that makes more sense. But Foden's almost a bit of a gamble, bit of a fun pick, player I believe in ability-wise, and a player who, if we think our minds back to sort of game weeks 1 to 10 last season, I'm not saying that's going to, repeat just because it's the start of the season, but he did start really well. Yeah. He scored a hat-trick against United. He was getting goals left, right, and centre. And then he just, he did fall out of the team for whatever reason. That was using him more in the Champions League, maybe sort of game week 10 to game week 16 before that World Cup break. But I like Foden early doors. Could be convinced to come off him, and I'm not trying to convince anyone to get him if you're against him for whatever reason. But yeah, I like him as a pick.
He does have very good predicted points, as you can see according to the site. Just greens across the board pretty much. And as you said, you're not picking him for the season. Who knows? He might come out the team. If he looks pretty nailed, if he plays a Community Shield, I think he's going to be in a lot more teams than he is right now. Still at only 13.8% ownership, which seems low given his price and the fact that there are injuries and omissions from that squad that may well see his place be pretty secured at the start of the season.
Yeah, just a very quick, a good point you just made on the Community Shield that I just want to hammer home to everyone. It is a really good opportunity because traditionally the Community Shield is best 11 versus best 11, so you can really see who's got a good chance of playing games. And I guess with Chelsea recently, with I think it was their last preseason game, they almost played their strongest 11. So what I would say to anyone watching is try and look at maybe the more recent starting lineups from teams in their most recent friendly game, not a friendly from 2 weeks ago, their last friendly. It's almost like the managers want their best 11 out, test run them as their sort of last pre-season game. It doesn't always work out like that, but it's a good sort of rule of thumb. As we, if you just go and look at the starting lineup for Chelsea recently, you can tell it's pretty much the starting 11, isn't it? Stuff like that is really
absolutely
handy tool. yeah, it's a handy way of sort of guessing who's going to start. You can never fully guess, but it's a good sort of rule of thumb, I'd say.
Well, I was watching the Chelsea v Dortmund game, and a couple of ex-players were on co-coms, and they were saying to each other that this is pretty much going to be a 100% sort of effort from the team they expected, because it was the last preseason game, and they were saying, yeah, looks pretty much like it's going to be the starting 11 for the series. So yeah, exactly backing up what you just said there. Okay then, who is going to be in the rest of your midfield? Are you going to go for a 5 or a 4?
So I've gone for a 4 at the minute. It all depends on sort of, you know, as we know with Gabriel Jesus missing out and Nkunku, I do like a 3-4-3 structure, just because I'm not saying it's the best formation, but the way I tend to play FPL, over the course of the season, I always just end up reverting back to 3-4-3, rightly or wrongly. It's just the way I play the majority of the time. So I don't necessarily want to start the season with a structure isn't 3-5-2. I'm not going to force it. If Nkuku's out, if loads of forwards just keep getting injured, then I will switch tact, of course. And like I said, I'm not here to convince anyone that 3-4-3 is the best. It's not a case of being the best. It's just the way I know I play FPL. I've been doing it for years, and I always end up merging back to 3-4-3 no matter what. So at the minute it's 3-4-3. Like I say, I won't force it. If there's no good third forward, I will go for a 3-5-2 instead. But yeah, the last midfield to start is Eze, and then I've got Anderson. Anderson will be my 4.5 million bench mid. We can chat a bit about those. So Eze, that 6.5 slot's a very contentious one, you know, across Twitter and YouTube potentially, with the likes of Matoma and Bremo. And again, I'm not saying that Eze is necessarily better than those players. He's just a player I prefer. But I like all those, and I even like March. There's a lot of really good 6.5 million midfielders. So pick your poison, I guess, and, you know, be strong with it and go for it. That's what I've done with Eze. Mixed bag fixture-wise, Sheffield United away, Arsenal at home. Obviously not great, but I do feel like Arsenal could be scored against. And then they've got Brentford away and Wolves at home. So it's okay as a starting fixtures. Not a sea of green, but equally not City away, Chelsea away, Liverpool away, stuff like that. And yeah, sorry, the main point with Eze, fixtures aside, is since Roy Hodgson came in, he played every single minute, 90 minutes every single game, with sort of extended. It seems like we're going to get a lot more injury time in the Premier League now, so I think that's important. And again, if you look at stats from all of last season about who's a nailed on player, who gets sent off early, the season as a whole won't shine very brightly on Eze, because Vieira didn't use him as, you know, he subbed him off early, or he started on the bench or whatever. But under Roy Hodgson, he played every single minute. With Zaha leaving the club, that's going to be even more the case, with even Olise being linked away. So yeah, Eze has gone from being super nailed under Roy Hodgson to super nailed, potentially on penalties as well. And it just, in the last 10 weeks of the season was incredible. Got his England debut as well, I think, just at the end of the season, didn't he? So yeah, really, really bright player, and I'm expecting big things from him. But like I say, is he the best 6.5 million midfielder? Maybe not. Time will tell. No one's got a magic ball in that regard. But yeah, I really like Eze.
No, but as you say, that slot is a contentious one, the 6.5 million. We've seen a lot of Mbeumos and Mitomas in that role. You know, across the entire midfield, I've said it through pre-season, there are probably about 15 players that could legitimately be in any team. And I don't think there's necessarily a right or a wrong move. One thing that I like about this team, and I believe this is the first 3-4-3 that we've seen on the series so far. So pretty original structure there, despite the fact that 3-4-3 historically has been the most used kind of formation for FPL managers. So we've not had any conversation about the 4.5 midfielder role, because there's been no need for it across any of the drafts. Why have you gone for Anderson?
Yeah, Anderson, there's been some good preseason comments about Anderson from Eddie Howe after he scored in the last minute. He said, you know, it's no fluke. He's been working really hard, good stamina, etc., etc. A young player who was on the fringes last season could be due for a big season. If it goes wrong, he's going to be on my bench anyway. And because, like I said, because he's 4.5 million, I don't see anyone better. And I also don't see... So with this draft, I've also got 0.5 in the bank. But what I find that 0.5, I will spend sorry, let me get my point across better. I will spend that 100 million if it's the best thing to do. However, if I can build a squad for 99.5 that is I'm happy with, I won't think, I've got 0.5 in the bank, I'm going to just spend it on upgrading my... You know, there isn't an upgrade to a 5 million midfielder who's better anyway.
Yeah.
So it's better to save that money in the bank. And should, let's say, an Eze get injured week 1 and go down in price 0.1, I can still use that money saved in the bank to jump to any other 6.5. I don't have to be forced into anything by price changes. So yeah, Anderson, I think, is the best pick of the bunch, and he'll go on the bench anyway, etc., etc. So yeah, I like the Anderson pick.
There we go. That rounds off the midfield then. So 3 forwards to go. Now, given the injuries that we've seen from Jesus and Nkunku, I don't really know where you're going to go. I'm interested to see who you're going to go here. I mean, one man. Let's get the big man in first of all, because I know he's going to be in your team, Haaland.
No,
right?
He's not in it.
Okay. Honestly, I'm not even joking. For literally 0.1 second there, you actually did get me.
Your face was
I was just
perfect. So
like, what?
I need to clip that up and
Screenshot that.
I'll get that on
Honestly,
I'll get
you
that
got me
on
for a
Twitter.
split second. It's the sort of thing you do. So that's why it got me. Okay.
Yeah,
So is he in?
your face there was a
I
picture. I'm
know,
gonna have
mate,
to
I
get that
know.
little 3 second video on Twitter for sure. But yeah, Haaland's in. He's got the
Sure.
captaincy as well for week one, even though it could be someone like, it's arguable that Saka slash Martinelli or whatever have got better fixtures. But for me, I'm going to play captaincy the same as I did last season, where there's got to be a really good reason for Hart to not have Haaland, if that
Yeah,
makes
I like
sense.
that.
So if Haaland was away at Liverpool or Arsenal, then I might not. And if there was also a really good alternative. But in my team, I'm not really set up with the likes of a Salah or a Rashford to sort of compete with captaincy. It is pretty much set on him with the likes of, Saka and Martinelli can be a little bit patchy, can't they? So yeah, Haaland's captain based on it's a newly promoted side as well. So yeah, no brainer for me at the minute. And then my other strikers is, well, at the minute it is Nkunku based on the fact we don't really know what's going on with his injury. If he's okay, he'll probably stay in. If not, I can maybe move to Jackson and have even more money in the bank or spread it elsewhere. Or someone like Visser from Brentford. Again, point C, I guess, would be Nkunku would become a cheap forward, and Anderson would become someone like Mbeumo, which could make a lot of sense. And I would then be in 3-5-2. Like I said, I'm not going to force a 3-4-3 just because I usually like to play it. But at the minute, yeah, if Nkunku's fit, he'll possibly take it. Like I said, Jackson's looking decent as well. But as you can see here, I think the only slot in my team that's a new player to the league, apart from my cheap defender of Kabore, is that Chelsea forward slot, Nkunku or Jackson. I don't usually like to do it. I don't mind having one in there as a little bit of a gamble. But yeah, it might make more sense, like I said, Visser, even a Callum Wilson, but probably not. If Nkuku's injured, it will possibly be a downgrade and then bang in an Mbeumo or a Mitoma into a 3-5-2.
I mean, yeah, you're right about no new players. We do often say you've got to be a little bit cautious with new entries into the league. No Onana for you, something I didn't actually mention earlier. I know spending 8.5 is something that a lot of experienced managers like to do with their goalkeepers. How come you've gone for Pickford then in that role?
Yeah, again, maybe if I free up some money and maybe if I decide that is the best way to go, I do like the idea of Onana.
Sorry to interject, only because now that you've said that you have that 0.5 in the bank. Earlier I was like, okay, yeah, if you want to spend 8.5, but given that you have that 0.5 that you've just mentioned.
Yeah, I do have that 0.5 with this current draft. So Pickford upgrade, because he isn't a player I'm dead set on. So a Pickford upgrade to an Onana or a Martinez from Villa is a very possible thing to do. But like I said, do I want to spend that? Having that 0.5 in the bank can be really handy. And if I feel like Pickford can match or get close to those 5 million midfielders, they don't have to that 0.5 in the bank. If I knew over the first 6 weeks, Onana scores, say, 2 points more than Pickford, if I knew that for a fact, I'd still go for Pickford and take the hit on the 2 points to have that money in the bank. So Pickford doesn't even have to match Onana. But yeah, Onana's a great pick. United keeper, should get save points, should get bonus. And he is somewhere I could go, especially if I take even more money out of someone like Nkunku, then it could be the way to go.
Okay, then that is 14 out of 15 players. Who is your final forward, Wes?
So this one's a little bit of a frustrating one because I had him for maybe since my first ever draft. I've had him for a long while before the injury to Jesus, before the injury to Nkunku. It is Ollie Watkins, a player that, again, I guess the theme with a fair chunk of my picks, the likes of trusting Trent from the start, Eze, and now Watkins, those 3 players in particular, is a lot due to how they ended the season. Maybe not the end of the season for Watkins, but that spell under Emery, when Emery first joined, Watkins had a really good spell. Same with Eze under Hodgson. And the same with Trent in that second half too. So yeah, Watkins was really good towards the end of the season. His role, and I remember seeing things in interviews that I liked in terms of Watkins saying that under the new manager, he's not running into channels and doing donkey work. He's staying centrally, getting the goals and getting in the position to score goals, etc., etc. He's missed a penalty in pre-season, so he might be off them, which I'd be sort of happy with. I hate it when players miss penalties.
So typical.
Yeah, so I think he's got a pretty bad penalty record. So maybe someone like Tielemans.
Awful record. He is so bad at penalties for a striker that is so good at finishing. I can't quite understand why he is so bad at penalties, but he is.
Yeah, certain players just don't seem to be able to take them. I think James Ward-Prowse has said in the past, again, a bit of a tangent, that he's not a big fan of taking penalties. He's had a few saved. He'd rather take a free kick. So yeah, crazy. But yeah, Watkins, like I said, having penalties is a big thing. But if they're going to miss them anyway, like I had Mitrovic last season, he missed like 2 or 3 in a row for me. It was sickening. Missed penalties are the worst because it's such a big swing. They obviously get the minus points, and then you're just thinking about if he'd have scored, it's 5 points plus bonus points, blah blah blah. So, but yeah, that all that aside, I do like Watkins' pick. And now I think even more so with the likes of Jesus going down injured and Cuckoo maybe injured, I think Watkins' ownership is going to only go one way, which is, like I say, I don't ever pick a team to be differential on purpose or to be 10 player on purpose. Whatever my team is, that's just it. Whatever happens. So, but it's always nice if you can get a player who's lowly owned, of course.
So that is the team. And yeah, you're absolutely right. You are one of the only managers that we've had on this series that had Watkins in from the start. In our first initial draft video that I did with you, Watkins was there and he's still there, despite the fact that now everyone else is jumping to him, I guess because of a lack of other options. Although, yeah, as you said, he's still a great pick nonetheless. So my question to you is, Wes, do you think that your team rating is going to be higher than what it was before? Or what would you be happy with overall?
I don't think it will be. I think my team as of right now isn't necessarily what the algorithms would consider optimal based on a few left field picks compared to the norm. It's not that left field, but you know, the likes of Eze possibly isn't as popular as I say in Bomo and things like that. So maybe my rating is 94%.
I believe that before you had 90%. So there is definitely scope there.
So I think it could have improved them.
Wow, it is 94%. You got it. Absolutely bang on.
Nice. Oh, I didn't cheat either before people in the comments accuse me of that.
It's very good. It's very good. It's very good indeed. Given that we have some doubts here about players starting, likes of Nkunku, Foden not always nailed, of course, Eze as well, not seen in every team. I like that a lot. It's very good. However, it could potentially be improved. Let's get into some AI recommended transfers. So Wes, here are your personalized recommended transfers. Guys, if you would like to get your own personalized recommended transfers, not just for pre-season, not just right now, but throughout the season, the Fantasy Football Hub AI tool will give you these recommended transfers based on their data, based on the algorithm, no bias. Then the link to do so is down below. If you sign up pre-season, it's the best time to sign up. You get 50% off. So you're running out of time. You've got to get it done. And if you do not win your mini league, the hub will give you all your money back. That is how confident we are in the product. An amazing deal that you can only get your hands on pre-season. So you've got to get it done. Get it done before the game starts, before the season begins. Wes, here are your recommended transfers. And I will say there is a pretty common theme here. There's a notable omission to your team. I'll ask you the question first because Wes can't actually see this. Who do you think or what team / role do you think that your team, that your FPL team is kind of missing out on? So if I was to say there is a set team that you don't have many players from that the AI thinks you should, do you have an answer for me?
Okay, well, I know the AI likes City players, rightly so, but I've already got two of them.
Yep.
So I'm thinking maybe Man United.
Yes, it is Man United.
Yeah, and Man United. So probably, is it suggesting? I'm trying to think financially what would work out. Maybe it's probably going Trent to Shaw and Eze or Foden up to like sort of Rashford.
So it's Trent to Stones, as you mentioned. It does love City players, but it's actually saying to take out another City player. It's saying to get rid of Foden.
Okay.
Because I think the minutes aren't completely nailed there, as we've spoken about. Yeah. But also Martinelli is another transfer out. And it's saying get Rashford and Fernandes in. Get those United players in. Perhaps more now for minutes. Good opening fixtures. And yeah, so Rashford, Bruno and Stones coming in for Trent, Martinelli and Foden. What do you think about that?
I don't hate it. And I do like Man United assets again. Again, I think I said earlier on the piece about it's not a case of my team. I haven't chosen to exclude certain players because I don't like them. And that's the same with Man United players. I do like Rashford, Bruno, Shaw, and Onana. I like all four of those players. So yeah, I'm not anti getting those players in. And is that, I think what the algorithm's trying to do is it's trying to free up 2.5 million from Trent and redistribute it, which is something that I think I was alluding to earlier about potentially going the likes of Trent to the likes for Shaw or Gabriel. So yeah, in terms of recommended transfers, the AI probably knows more than me as well. So let's trust that.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
I like, no, I do. They are decent suggestions, of course. And like I said, I think in my first draft that we did, Jack, the video, I think I probably did have Bruno in because I picked him out as a player who I felt was a bit underpriced as well.
Yeah.
But just as I was building this, he's just come out for one reason or another. But yeah, I do like the idea of going back to Man United players. But I also don't see it as, I was saying this on WhatsApp the other day, that when you say cover a team, just because I don't have any Man United players doesn't mean I can't match some of their players. Maybe Rashford over the first 6 game weeks scores 2 goals. And Man United win all their games, but they don't keep any clean sheets. Man United might be top of the league, but in the place of Rashford, I might have Foden who scored more, and I might have Trent who hasn't, Liverpool might not have the team wins, but maybe he's got points or whatever. What I'm trying to get at is you can cover players from certain teams and it feels more comfortable. It feels safer. You don't have to go into Man United games scared. Doesn't necessarily mean you yield more points player versus player in FPL. So yeah, I don't try and cover off a team. I would happy if I end up going into the season with no Man United players, say la vie, Man United players will score points, but they just won't be in my team. My players will be in my team and will hopefully outscore them pound for pound.
Yeah, you're right, because we do talk about covering a player. However, if you can cover that player in another team, then you're doing the same thing. Of course, this isn't a team v team game. It's just player versus player. How many times have we seen in the past? You have a great player from a great team that's in great form, yet they win the game 3-0. They have 0 goal involvement. Say the likes of Eze in a standard 1-1 get the goal. That's a 10-pointer perhaps. And the player that you have covered in the team in the 3-0 who are doing well, top of the league, who doesn't get any points, then you would have been better off going with someone like an Eze in the first place. So yeah, really take your point. Wes, thank you very much. That is going to do it for this one. An improvement to your team rating, which is good to see as we get closer and closer to the deadline. I will say, and we're going to caveat this by saying that this is not Wes's confirmed final team. If you want to see Wes's confirmed final team before the deadline, as close as we can possibly get it to the deadline, then Wes is going to be doing a final team reveal on the Fantasy Football Hub website. Link down below if you want to sign up and see that. Again, it's so worth doing. The best time to do it is pre-season for all those deals that I mentioned earlier. So yeah, get it done. Don't miss out. You won't be happy. Trust me. Wes, thank you very much as always. Good luck for the start of the season. And I'll see you very soon as we get into the season for some game week previews. But yeah, good luck. Hope you get off to a great start.
Cheers, mate.